Hi everyone, I just want to talk to you a little bit about locating and appraising a literature summary. So to find a literature summary, you need to obviously look through the databases and find a summary of the information that you're looking for that has to do with your PICO question. So when we look at the pyramid, we can see the evidence hierarchy. What you're looking for quantitative evidence is you're looking for a systematic review, a meta-analysis, or an evidence-based practice guideline. This is a level 1. Down here is a level 5. This would be a summary if you were looking for something qualitative. So if your PICO had to do with some thoughts, feelings, or ideas, this is the one we would look for down here. If we have a hardcore, is Intervention 1 better than Intervention 2? We definitely need a quantitative guideline. So synthesis of science, so it's just really gathering the information together. So it's a systematic process to reduce the number of primary sources so that we don't have to pull each and every single study. They take all the studies and put them together. So there's types of summary reviews. Obviously the level 1, the best one that we can have when we're comparing two interventions and we need numerical data to substantiate our claim, would be a quantitative level 1 evidence. You can have a narrative review. A narrative review is just more broad, and it just says this is what's in the literature. An integrated review, you can have different designs, theories, and empirical. A meta-analysis is statistically combines all the studies for one big effect. That's like a wonderful one that we can really look at. And then our gold standard, of course, is the systematic review, and it combines all of the three, and that would be like a Cochrane review. Qualitative would be a level 5 evidence, and it's a meta-synthesis, so it takes the information and makes a summary of it. But remember, these are thoughts, feelings, and ideas. Many times they don't have numerical quantitative data because it's more qualitative. It's qualitative information. So the type of information produced in a qualitative versus a quantitative synthesis, obviously, if you're doing something qualitative, you're looking for meaningfulness, appropriateness, and feasibility for the patient. So you're just looking at, does it matter? So you're going to use a critical and interpretive paradigm to synthesize the information and give you mega aggregation, meaning what does this data represent? Like, is it good to, is it better for them to feel like they have support, or is it better for them to feel like they have someone to push them? So, I mean, that's not a really great example, but it's just thoughts, feelings, and ideas. And then a meta-ethnography, that would be of different cultures. Now, the information you need for qualitative is the effectiveness of the intervention. So the effectiveness is the information you need, and that's going to give you a quantitative information, and that's a positivist paradigm, meaning this is better than that. And you're going to find those in meta-analysis and narrative analysis. So narrative analysis, they are just reviews. They're found in like trade publications, and they have just various works. So they just kind of take the information, put it all together, and kind of tell you what's out there. An integrative review is what we started doing in the 80s, and it just says that this is the information we have. We're going to put it in a grid type format, and we're going to tell you everything that we can see that we have all together. So it shows you the information that you need, but it's laid out in a better design. And then meta-analysis is awesome because that's the statistical analysis of all the large studies. So you take all the information from all the large studies, you crunch all those numbers together, and then we get some evidence. So it conducts statistical probability on a larger group of studies to propose interventions. The purpose is to resolve uncertainty when reports disagree. So while we have, let's say we have 40 studies and 38 studies say the same thing and then the 2 other studies do not. This takes the whole body of evidence and says, no, it really does. And this is what we found in these 2 studies, that we had a small sample size, or that, you know, it was on a different population, or that the dose was whatever. So it helps to rule out when we, you know, we take the studies as individuals and take them and group them all together. Of course, it gives you greater statistical evidence and determines if we need further research, because that's at the end of the day, we need to follow, is this working or is it not? So if you have 20 studies that say it is not, and you have 40 studies that say it is, then that's great. But if we have a lot of studies that disagree with this, you know, the same thing we're studying over and over, you know, we may need more studies. Criticism of meta-analysis. Logical conclusions are not possible from comparing aggregate studies. So people will say, well, it was a little bit, you did it a little bit different in, you know, X study rather than Y study. But when you're, it is difficult to kind of crunch all that together. But at the same time, when you're looking at the outcome measure, you know, you hope that the studies are well written, because there are some studies that are very poorly written that you kind of have to toss. So they try to look at these and put them in here, even if they're a poor study, but you still have to look at that. Results may be unable to be interpreted if they're poorly designed. This is just what I just said. So if it's a bad study, sometimes we have to toss it out, even though if it's good evidence. That's why it's really important to make sure to use the guidelines when writing a study. Publish researches in favor of significant findings. This is when you have stakeholders such as a pharmaceutical company, or you have stakeholders such as, I don't know, somebody supporting the study that is pushing the envelope for getting the results that they want. So you don't want any bias in any of this. So sometimes you have to kick out those, and then if it's significant, like if it's a good study, and there is stakeholder involvement, and we identify that, and we put it into our meta-analysis, we have to say at the end, yeah, there was stakeholder involvement. There could have been, you know, some bias on this particular study, and that's important to say. And then the sample sizes vary and may not have the power of significance. So you guys, the sample size is super important, obviously. Of course, non-randomized double blinds are what we want. Sometimes we have studies that are, you know, just the samples are convenient samples, and so you know, you're going to have ones that are better than others, and so that is the major criticism of a meta-analysis, is that some of the studies are going to be higher quality than the other studies. Systematic reviews. Systematic review is a rigorous methodological synthesis of a research finding about a research problem. We love a systematic review. It uses scientific tools to really identify the information. So they improve identification, inclusion, and exclusion criteria of research design. So they, you know, boot out a lot of things that are not good. And then they look for gray papers, they look for published or unpublished information, and so the systematic reviews are really the best ones. They dig all through there. It combines other types of summary reviews such as narrative, integrative, and meta-analysis. Systematic reviews, there are organizations that only do systematic reviews. Joanna Briggs, that's our Sigma Theta Tau database. USPSTF, which is my very favorite one, they are great because if you go into the USPSTF website, you will see clinical practice guidelines and you'll see systematic reviews, and then you'll click on it and it will give you a summary of the systematic review, and it also gives you the whole book that you can look at online that tells you everything you ever need. These are what guide our practice, and we love these. And then, of course, the gold standard is the Cochrane review, systematic, up-to-date with everything relevant. Like, they really update these. You should always have a systematic review, should be updated every 10 years. In Cochrane, excuse me, they update them very frequently. So we love Cochrane. Meta-analysis is a scientific review that contains qualitative studies, metasynthesis. This is our level 5 research, excuse me. Metasynthesis contains qualitative studies, and it combines them. So we like a metasynthesis. You know, we can study, the smell of lavender and how it makes one feel before a test. And so we can pull all of those studies that they've done with those and what people have said and thought, and we can put them all together and have a metasynthesis. Then a metasummary is quantitative and qualitative. So this would be same thing, but you might have some numerical data when you studied, let's say that people not just said how they felt about the lavender, but they did a Likert scale on 1 to 5 about how they felt that the lavender made them feel that they were going to do on the test. So then you can have some quantitative data and you can have some qualitative data, and the metasummary combines the two of those. And it does groups and sizes and intensity and effect. So it's the top of the heap for your qualitative. All right, so here we are, rapid critical appraisal. So what we need to do is we need to assess one of the analysis. So how do you do that? So you're going to take your summary review. You're going to take all the information that you got, and you're going to answer these questions. This is called a rapid appraisal. So you answer each and every one of these questions. So was there a rationale given, and what is already known about it? I'm not going to read these, but you're going to go straight down through all of these questions. They're very simplistic. They're very straightforward. They should be in the summary review. All good summary reviews have all of these questions. All right, so now here, this is the, I've shown you the PowerPoint. Now let's go to the actual assignment. Let's go back to the assignment. Hold on one second. Let me track this. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right. Just make this a little bit wider. It won't let me make it wider. All right. So the purpose is to look up a summary that you have. Now I want to say this. So after completing this modules, the students will be able to identify summaries relevant to a clinical question. That would be your PICO question. Differentiate between these types of summaries and use and do a critical summary of a rapid appraisal on your summary. So Smitten Brown, so one of you emailed me and said my numbers are not matching up. I talked to Dr. Reginovic. She said that some of you are using the 2nd edition and some of you are using the 3rd edition. The 3rd edition are the ones with these points, and then I put the 2nd edition readings in here as well. So when you're doing your paper, what they really want you to do is pick 2 summaries. They want you to pick a systematic review or a meta-analysis, one Cochrane and one not Cochrane. Then what they're trying to tell you that they want you to do is appraise the one that is not Cochrane. So we want you to do a summary review. We want you to pick one of your summary reviews and do an analysis on it. And if it's not a Cochrane. If Cochrane is all you have, that's fine. we can use that. So the appraisal process is going back through the PowerPoint and answering all of the questions in red. And that is also in your Schmidt and Brown book. So you just answer the questions. If you look at, however, to receive all your points, it demonstrates competency in searching for the summary and identifying the types, appraises the summary thoroughly beyond yes and no answers. So on those red answers, on those red questions, I expect more than just a yes or no answer. You have to discuss it a little bit and tell me what they provided. Discuss your concerns, strengths, and weaknesses of the summary. So that will be another heading. And then discuss the significance of the findings of the review. So, you know, you may have a systematic review that has everything that is published about your topic, and it may only have three studies. So in that, you would say it is significant or it's not significant, and I only had 3 studies, and when you looked at the power of those 3 studies all combined, it was very weak, and it barely said that this intervention worked. So that's how you would discuss that. If you have any questions, please post them on the discussion board, and I appreciate your attention today. Thank you.